All right, UFC 317 just concluded last night, and honestly, that was one of the best cards of the year, probably. Probably one of the most solid cards I've ever watched. Exciting prelims, exciting main event, just exciting all around, top to bottom. So we're gonna go from the top. We're gonna go from the bottom of the card, move up to the top of the card. Just kind of recap what happened here. I did pretty decent on picks. I actually did pretty good. I went 8-11, which was pretty solid. Had a couple cancellations here and there, but other than that, really solid overall. First fight on the card, Yonata Denise, or Yonata, however you say it, Yonata Denise and Alvin Hines. Not a very exciting fight, honestly. I mean, Yonata Denise won that fight, outboxed Alvin Hines to a decision. Hines picked up some steam early, but just wasn't able to get anything going. Honestly, not the most exciting fight. Not a whole lot to say on that one. But we move on to Jacoby Smith and Nico Price. I picked Jacoby Smith to do early first round knockout. I know a lot of people were picking that one too, but he got the second round submission, so he did get a quick finish. He did dominate Nico Price from pillar to post and got the submission. He's proving that he has a submission game on top of his knockout power, which is really good. I'm still high on Jacoby Smith. I still like Jacoby Smith. I know some people are kind of saying like, oh, he didn't, finish him in like, half a round, so that just, kind of means he sucks or isn't going to be as good or whatever. I'm not riding on the future champ hype train. I don't agree with that. I think we need to stop with all the future champ call-outs of all these up-and-coming fighters. I think it's overused, but I still think he's going to be in the rankings at some point. He is showing a little bit of flaws against a better fighter. They might have been able to capitalize on some of the things Jacoby Smith was doing, but I think other than that, Jacoby Smith it's his second fight in his UFC career. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got a long way to go. So, I trust that he's going to make the adjustments needed. And even if he loses at some point on the come up, he'll be able to make adjustments. He'll be able to keep going. I still think he's going to get within the rankings and be he'll be able to stay in the rankings at some point, I do believe. So, anyways, we have Vyacheslav Borshov and Terrence McKinney. I picked a first-round knockout for McKinney, but he got the first-round submission. Yeah, man, Borshov's a good boxer. Yeah, he is. But he just lacks in the ground game. He has lacked in the ground game for a long time, and he just has not improved on it. And he doesn't seem like he wants to improve in the ground game. He's now 8-6 in his professional career. That's not a great number, and I do think the UFC are probably going to cut him after this. I don't see them keeping him around as inconsistent as he is. He was pretty exciting when he first got into the UFC, the whole Slava Claus thing, and he has good boxing, and he was getting a couple knockouts here and there, and as well as the draw with Nazim Sadikov. That was a really exciting fight, but I just think he's on a consistent downturn now. He's 33. I don't think he's going to improve very much from now until then. Like I said, he's 8-6. The UFC are probably going to cut him. Good on Terrence McKinney, though. Terrence McKinney really does have a solid ground game, and he's always dangerous early on. Kill or be killed is Terrence McKinney. But, yeah, I look forward to seeing what he does next with his career, who he fights next. We'll see if he wins or loses. It's honestly a coin toss. But, anyways, Tracy Cortez and Viviana Araújo. Honestly, a pretty decently exciting fight. I enjoyed watching the fight. Araújo got some success early on in the first round, but other than that, it was just Tracy Cortez domination from pillar to post. She outgrappled Viviana the entire time of their fight, and she did decently in the striking as well. And Araújo's grappling, she couldn't come up with an answer for Cortez. She tried jumping guillotine on Cortez that just did not work out at all. She just really doesn't have the grappling to compete with her. So good on Tracy Cortez. I thought she was going to get a submission. What was it, in the second or the third round something? She got a standing guillotine choke. I thought she transitioned her grip. She really would have been able to lock it in and get the submission. But anyways, good fight. Good domination from Tracy Cortez nonetheless. Anyways, Haider Emil and Jose Delgado. This was the first fight that I got wrong. I picked Haider Emil to win by decision, and Jose Delgado gets it by early first round knockout. A wild fight from the moment they both came out, especially from Hyder Meal. Hyder Meal was looking to throw down. I think he kind of got he got Jose Delgado down to the ground at one point, I do believe, but as soon as it got back up to the feet from there, and as soon as it just started to calm down a little bit, Jose threw that knee right up the middle, knocked him out, follow-up elbows, and the fight was stopped. Hyder Emil was complaining. He threw his hand up as he was, read the decision, which is silly. Like, you watch the replay. Not only did the knee just knock him down flat on his back, he ate two really flush elbows after that. So he can't complain about the stoppage. I know fighters like to complain about the stoppage, stoppages that they're involved in, and I honestly think it has to do a lot with you just being freshly knocked out and you're not in the right state of mind. So I won't crap on Hyder Emil too much for that, but good stoppage by Mark Goddard and really good knockout for Jose Delgado, taking the O from Hyder Emil. And final fight on the prelims was Gregory Rodriguez and Jack Hermansson. Man, that was terrifying. That was a terrifying knockout, dude. I cannot believe that. Yeah, man. What else do I have to say? I cannot believe that knockout. I picked Gregory Rodriguez to win. I picked him to win by decision, but man, he just laid Jack Hermansson out in that late into that first round. That was terrifying. That was probably one of the scariest knockouts I've ever seen. The only other one I can think of is Cesar Almeida flatlining. Gosh dang it, what's his name? He has a really long name, and he kind of bounces between welterweight and middleweight. I'll think of it later. I'll put the name on the screen or something. That Cesar Almeida knockout, kind of similar thing. Really good left hook from Gregory Rodriguez, just puts Jack Hermansson out. That was kind of an unnecessary follow-up shot, though. I know, it's the fighter's job to finish the fight, to stay in there, fight all the time, and I know you might not always be able to tell that someone's out. If you knock somebody down, you might just follow up with ground and pound or whatever, but Jack Hermansson was clearly unconscious, and just the way that Gregory just slowly walked up to him, knew he was out, and still hit him with the follow-up shot anyways. That was a little unnecessary, but whatever. Also, Herb Dean kind of came in a little late for that stoppage, but it is what it is. Great knockout from Gregory Rodriguez. How bad is Joe Pyfer? That's what we gotta say. I know Joe Pyfer he lost to Jack Hermansson a couple years ago in that fight in that main event that they had, and then, Joe Pyfer just had that fight with Kelvin Gastelum. He got that 10-8 in the first round, but he just slowed down and he kind of looked bad, I think Joe Pyfer, I think, just relies way too much on his, his overhand right, or his big right hook to just knock people out. And that just, he still relies on it, and it leads him to getting outstruck and just, stinkers of fights that even he wins. He beat Kelvin Gastelum, but even then he's just dude, you're letting Kelvin Gastelum at this point in his career outstrike you late? Really? So I think Gregory Rodriguez is someone who puts it together a lot better than Joe Pyfer does. He does have scary power, but he does do good with his combinations, and he does put things together a lot better than Joe Pyfer does. So I think he's the better Joe Pyfer. So I'm happy for it. Main card, Peyton Talbot and Felipe Lima. This was the next fight that I got wrong. I had Felipe Lima winning by decision. I do still think he is a better fighter than Raoni Barcelos, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I said that Felipe Lima would win, is that, Peyton Talbot's getting a step up in competition, honestly, after losing to Raoni Barcelos, at least in my opinion. Felipe Lima's a lot better of a fighter, a better grappler, a better finisher, but Peyton Talbot did show a lot of improvements in this fight, and I'm really happy to see it. Honestly, I'm happy that he went back to the drawing board, made the improvements that he needed to make, and came out and made them and executed perfectly on his game. Felipe was kind of doing some weird stuff in there. There were some weird takedowns that he shot. There were some grappling transitions he tried to make that just ended up, he just ended up reversing himself. And then some just weird striking exchanges, throwing some random spinning crap. He was just weirdly wild out there. And I think Peyton did a really good job in controlling the wildness that is Felipe Lima. And like I said, Peyton looks much improved. He called out, gosh dang it, he called out Adrian Yanez after the fight. I think he starches Adrian Yanez. Yanez is a good offensive boxer, but defensively he is just there to be hit so easily. And he lost his last fight too. He didn't really make all the best decisions in that fight. I cannot remember who he lost to. I'll have to look at that again. But he kind of just fumbled a finish a couple times, if I remember correctly. And I just think Peyton Talbot's going to be a lot more accurate and a lot better in the striking. And plus, Yanez just doesn't have, the grappling threat that's needed to potentially get away from the striking of Peyton Talbot, to neutralize that threat and go to the grappling. And even then, Peyton Talbot showed that he's gotten a lot better in the grappling as well. So I think he beats Yanez pretty easy. I'm happy to see where he keeps going in the division. Anyways, we have Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano. I picked Dariush to win. A little scary early on. He got knocked down against the fence in the first round. Moicano got that scary right hand off, but other than that, Dariush takes the win, and I said he was a better grappler than Moicano, and he proved that he is. That's the thing with Beneil Dariush, is that you grab a hold of him, you try to advance position, he is always moving. Beneil Dariush does not concede position ever. That's why Mateusz Gamrot could not beat him in their fight a couple years ago. Gamrot will get a hold of him, and Beneil has such good scrambles. He's able to scramble out of pretty much any position and just never let you get a hold of him when you want to. And the only time excuse me, we have seen him in a bad position on the ground was against Charles Oliveira, after he got dropped and hurt bad, and Charles Oliveira is the only guy that could out-scramble him when Beneil tried to recover. So, good on Beneil Dariush. I don't know why Renato Moicano was trying to shoot takedowns. Especially after that second round, Beneil dominated Moicano in the grappling, and yet Moicano was still trying to shoot takedowns. I don't understand it. I get Moicano was tired. They both were really tired. Both of their gas tanks need some serious work. But I get you're tired, but why would you go to the area that you're failing in when you're tired, when you could stay in the area that you've had the most success in when you're tired? I just don't understand it. And plus, grappling is a lot more tiring than striking anyways. I don't know. I just don't get it. But hey, good win for Beneil Dariush. I'm really happy for the guy. Work on that gas tank, bud. But, he'll be back. He'll be back. Yeah. Anyways, next fight. Joshua Van and Brandon Royval. I picked Brandon Royval to win. I noticed Joshua Van was the favorite. And I'm looking at that and I'm going, dude, what? Why is Josh Van the favorite? He just beat Bruno Silva 3 weeks ago, which Bruno Silva is not too great. He's got some power, but he's dead even in his UFC record. He's 5-5 or something or 4-4 or something like that in his UFC career. And he immediately gets a fight with the number one contender, Brandon Royval, who just took the O from Tatsuro Taira, and before that beat Brandon Moreno. So going into the fight, I'm thinking, why is Van the favorite? Royval should win this. This is a huge step up. But Van surprised us all. Van took it to Royval the entire fight. They slugged it out. They were slugging it out the entire time. It was so amazing to watch. And it was just really razor close the entire time. I'm like, dude, I don't... at the third round, I'm like, I think Josh could get this, but I don't know. I could see it going to Royval. Then, bam, Josh drops Brandon Royval with 10 seconds left, gets ground and pound off, and I'm like, that seals Joshua Van the fight, and Joshua Van gets the decision. I'm really happy for Joshua Van. That is awesome. And you know what? It's the best thing that could have happened for the division too. I figured that Pantoja was going to win the title, and like defend his belt, remain and still. And I was like, well, if Pantoja wins, which I did fully believe he would, then what's next for Pantoja? What's next for the division? He's beat Royval twice. He's beat Moreno 3 times. Tonight would be Kai Kara-France, right? And I think he's beat Manel Kape as well. Like, Tatsuro Taira's coming off a loss. Amir Albazi's coming off a loss. The other 2 guys in the top 5, like, who do you give Pantoja? There's not a clear contender. And if you want to give him Manel Kape, who's the only guy that would be coming off of a win, besides both Brandons, then that's not as exciting. Who's going to be hyped for Alexander Pantoja versus Manel Kape? Who's going to be hyped for that, right? But Joshua Van just saved that. Joshua Van just saved the title picture and inserted himself as a fresh, new, and most deserving contender for the title. He will be fighting Alexander Pantoja next for the flyweight title, and I am so excited for that. I do think that the 30-27 scorecard was a bit odd, but I do think Joshua Van definitely did win that fight, and that was like fight of the year. That was fight of the year easily. And yeah, Joshua Van is the real deal. And at 23 years old, as the number 1 contender, dude, he's got everywhere he can go. He can go so many places from here. And even if he doesn't beat Pantoja in their upcoming title fight, he does have the potential to be champion one day. Anyway, speaking of Pantoja defended his belt against Kai Kara-France in the co-main event, submitting him in the 3rd round. Absolute grappling domination in the 1st round, a little bit of a back and forth in the 2nd round, and then 3rd round comes, he sinks in the rear naked choke, and he's 2-0 against guys named Kai. So anyone else named Kai wants to challenge Pantoja, you're not going to do it. But anyways, in all seriousness, dude, who's beating Pantoja? Like I said, we got Joshua Van, who's going to fight him for the title next. I think he beats Joshua Van too, man. It's just, yeah, who's gonna beat Pantoja? He's cleared out the division, and there's not an up and coming contender who is like a serious threat to Pantoja. I think that Van could propose some problems for him on the feet, but in the grappling, Pantoja is unmatched. Especially Pantoja's physicality, it's unmatched. And I just don't see anybody in the flyweight division that is going to be able to beat him. You want to talk about any up-and-coming contenders? The guy that just beat Charles Johnson, the really jacked guy that just beat Charles Johnson. Yeah, you think he's going to beat Pantoja? Or Loner Kavanagh? You think Loner Kavanagh is going to beat Pantoja? Yeah, who else? Manel Kape? Asu Almabayev just lost. Like, yeah, there's nobody. There's nobody that's going to be able to beat Pantoja, and I think he's just getting closer and closer and closer to, the flyweight GOAT conversation every time he fights. And honestly, he deserves to be so much higher in the pound-for-pound list than he is. There are people with Magomed Ankalaev, who just won the title, and doesn't even have a defense yet, is higher on the pound-for-pound list than Pantoja is, who just had his 4th title defense. Dricus du Plessis is higher on the pound-for-pound list with 2 defenses. Ilya Topuria is higher with, I get it, he's a double champion, though, so I'm not going to bag on the Topuria one, though, right? But, man, I think the people who make these pound-for-pound lists just want to disregard flyweight. And it's like, oh, flyweight's whatever. Dude, Pantoja's lapped his division. And the only guy left for him is The only guy left for him is Joshua Van. Right? Like, what else can he do that's going to boost him up on these pound-for-pound rankings? He's number 9 right now. Are you kidding me? That's disgraceful. He needs to be at least top 5. He needs to be at least that 5th spot. He deserves it at this point. Nobody's beating Pantoja. Nobody's better. He will retire undefeated at flyweight. And you know what? No one else is talking about. He's beat the 35 curse too. He's 35 years old, and he defended his belt at flyweight. And at flyweight, heck, you can lower the age to 34, right? I know we talk about Volk beating the 35 curse when he beat Diego Lopez for the title. No one's talking about Pantoja beating the 35 curse. Pantoja is the best right now. No one's beating him. If he moves up, Merab beats him, but he said he doesn't even want to move up. I believe he will retire without losing. No one's better. No one's better. And I'm so happy that Pantoja's defended his title. I love seeing him on top. I love Pantoja. Anyways, I'm going to get off that now. Ilia Topuria is him. He just flatlined Charles Oliveira in the first round, dude. Oh, yeah. He's scary. He's him, and he's now a 2-division champion. He's lightweight champion right now. They brought Paddy Pimblett in the cage for his defense. I don't really know how I feel about that. Justin Gaethje doesn't deserve a title shot, and then they don't want to give it to Arman. Holloway and Max are fighting. He just beat Charles, so that's everyone in the top 5 discounted for a title shot. Disclaimer, I would love to see Arman fight for the title. I want to see Arman fight for the title. I think he should fight next, but the UFC isn't going to do that. Right? So that's the entire top 5 discounted to fight for the title. Who do you want to give him? Dan Hooker? Dan Hooker hasn't earned it. Mateus Gamrot, he hasn't earned it. Right? I guess Paddy Pimblett, but it's like, dude, he's coming off a win against 39-year-old Michael Chandler, who refuses to make any adjustments to his game for his entire career. You want to give Paddy a title shot? I get it's the grudge match, you know. They both hate each other. They both want to fight each other. Dana said that he doesn't want Paddy in the next title shot. He said, he was like, whoever let them in there, they shouldn't have let him in there. That's a dumb idea. I don't want to give Paddy the next title shot. So, but that's the thing is, like, who do you give it to at lightweight? There's kind of a big question at lightweight as to who's deserving to fight for the title. I think the big 3 right now are Arman, Gaethje, and Paddy, but I think they're all one real win away from fighting for the title. And I saw that Arman's going to fight Dan Hooker, or it's not official, but they're trying to get Arman and Dan Hooker to fight. So maybe we do Paddy versus Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is going to throw a fit over that, and he probably, honestly, with how much Gaethje is throwing a fit over how he's not getting a title shot right now, I could see him just not taking the fight, which would kind of be annoying. But even better then, if we could get Paddy and Arman to fight, that would truly settle the score about which one of them deserves to fight for the title next. If Arman beats Paddy, then it's like, okay, he's redeemed himself not only with making weight as the backup for this fight, but in beating Paddy Pimblett, then he deserves to fight Ilia next. If Paddy wins, then he's actually beat a legit contender, a legit top opponent, and then he can deserve to fight for the title. So I think that's the fight you make next. You make Paddy and Arman, you get them to fight, and the winner should fight Ilia for the belt. I don't know that anyone's beating Ilia at lightweight. That power is terrifying, and he's proven that it's transferred over to 155 pounds, and it fits right in at 155 pounds. We've never seen Charles laid out like that before. We've seen him TKO'd, we've seen him finished before on the ground, we've seen him knocked out, but we've never seen him just out cold like that. Ilia's got that, and Ilia's got that power, and he proved that he's got that grappling. He willingly followed Charles to the ground like I thought he would. And Charles tried a heel hook attempt on Ilia. It looked kind of deep for a second, but Ilia was able to get out, which makes me optimistic about his chances against Paddy's grappling, and even more optimistic in the chances in the striking. I think Ilia knocks out Paddy as well. I know Paddy is a lot bigger and a lot stronger than Charles is. He's good on the ground, but I know he's got okay striking, but you can't just have okay striking against Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria will knock you out if you give him an opening, and that we saw that in the fight. Charles Oliveira, he was keeping a high guard for a bit, but he just kept reaching for Ilia. He kept reaching his hands out for Ilia. That is not what you do against Ilia Topuria. Oh my gosh. And Ilia Topuria capitalized on it. Boom, hit him with right hand, knocked him out, right? Completely limp, right? And I think if Paddy tries that crap against him, and Paddy's not the best striker, he kind of leads with his head when he strikes, Topuria is going to catch him. And Topuria is really good at distance management, and I don't think he's going to run into a takedown from Paddy. As for a fight with Arman, it's a bit different. Arman's a bit better in the striking. Arman is better in the pure wrestling than Paddy is. Paddy's better at jiu-jitsu, but Arman is better at pure wrestling. So I think Arman would be able to get in on takedowns against Ilia. Although he is, like I said, he is bigger and stronger than Ilia is, but Arman is also about the same height as Ilia. So Ilia might be able to catch him on the striking a bit easier, although Arman does tend to fight a little longer and is more kick heavy, but I don't see that kind of striking being a problem for Ilia. Ilia's going to be able to catch Arman, I think, and he's not going to be, like I said, Ilia's proven that he is not a slouch on the ground, and he will look to advance position even against the highest level of grapplers, and I do think he is a smart fighter overall. So I think the lightweight division is going to be under Ilia Topuria's rule for a long time. So yeah, anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.